Hey, Marvel fans. Yes, it's me, Manichi. Yes, it's time to do something I haven't done in a long time ago. I actually saw Thunderbolts this afternoon, and I decided, you know what? It's time to do my thoughts on video, where I review non-horror films, even though this is a horror channel, so I don't use a horror miser, Manichi. I just use Manichi. So it's time to hear my thoughts on the 36th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the end of Phase 5, which I'm pretty sure most of Marvel people want to forget. It is Thunderbolts. Yes. A film that was directed by Jack Schneider. Schneider, I think I've seen pronounce his name. The film was written by Eric Pearson and Joanna Collo. Now, the film stars Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, Wyatt Russell, Olga Kurylenko, Louis Pullman, David Harbaugh, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Now, in this film, after finding themselves ensnarled in a death trap, an unconventional team of anti-heroes must embark on a dangerous mission that will force them to confront their darkest corners of their past. Wow, mental health issues. Way to go, MCU. So here we are, Marvel fans. We're getting ready for the final film in Phase 5, and things have gone downhill for the MCU since Avengers Endgame. Now, with the exception of Deadpool versus Wolverine, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the MCU has been in a very sad state. With lackluster films like The Marvels, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumanium, along with some disappointing Disney Plus TV shows such as Secret Invasion and Echo, most people have lost faith in the once and mighty MCU. Mainly because most of these films have not brought the box office that we typically see when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Most of these films always at least come in with at least over 100 million within a 3-day period, but other than the three mentioned films, these films have failed to reach even some decent amount of numbers, and they've all failed. I mean, put it this way: an average film would love to make the money that even the Marvels and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania have made, but when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and MCU, those numbers pale in condition to what this franchise, great franchise, used to bring in. You could always count on a Marvel film to bring in the money, and they're simply not doing it anymore. I mean, some people call it superhero fatigue, others call it bad storytelling, and others call it lack of creativity, but it's just been downhill in Phase 5 for the MCU. Now, which brings us to the final film in Phase 5, directed by American filmmaker Jacob Staley Schreider. It is called Thunderbolts. Now, in this film, we learned that CIA Director Valentina Arregla de Fontaine is trying to conceal her informant with OXE Group's Century Superhuman Project. While she's facing an impeachment hearing in Washington, D.C., she has sent one of her black agents, Elena Belova, to one of the OXE black sites to stop someone from stealing the information and it's exposing her involvement in the project. However, it seemed that Da Fontaine has also sent in John Walker, Ghost, and Taskmaster with the same mission, realizing too late that this was all a trap to destroy all of the evidence and then kill everyone inside. Now, that happens to include a man named Bob, who gets awakened during the fight, and he has no memory of how he got into that site. So now, who is Bob? What's his connection to Project Century? And can this ragtag group of anti-heroes band together in long enough to find the answers and save the day? That's kind of what this film is about, and that's the best way I can explain it without spoiling anything. Well, I'm sure most people who do not read Marvel Comics will not know much about these characters here in this film. It's almost similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. Those characters were not mainstay characters such as Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, and Thor. These are like secondary characters. These are mostly secondary characters that make rare appearances in Marvel Comics, and some of them have not been used in a while. I can't even mention the last time I've seen any of these characters in a major comic book series or co-star in a series. I really don't know when the last time I've seen any of these characters where it becomes the U.S. agent, Elena's character, Ghost, Taskmaster, or even the Sentry. I think the last time I seen the Sentry, he was in the Venom thing. I think this last time he was as far as used in the comic books, but we rarely see any of these characters used in the comics anymore. If I'm mistaken, let me know in the comment section below. However, thanks to some good writing, great acting, and some decent fighting scenes, I actually did enjoy this film, and it was better than I thought it would be. So I was really happy to see that, yay, we got a decent MCU film. Matter of fact, I even like this better than Captain America: Brave New World. I mean, one of the problems with Captain America: Brave New World that I had was that despite the great acting that we did from Anthony Mackie, and Carl Lumbly, the problem with that particular film was so disjointed at times, mainly because of the reshoots. But we don't get that here in this film. One thing you have to do is you have to give credit to the screenplay that American screenwriters Eric Pearson and Joanna Kalu have done here. I mean, from what I've seen from other YouTubers, they have been complaining about the MCU doesn't write any good stories anymore. They don't write good characters anymore. And I believe that's what Eric and Joanna have done for in this particular film. We have some decent characters in this film. And I believe that's what's been missing in the films that we've seen, and even in the Disney Plus TV shows. I mean, one thing I give them credit for, the script they have written here flows easily and allows the audience to get to know all these characters despite having to explore all their backstories. Even if you haven't seen The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that's where John Walker characters come from, or Ant-Man and the Wasp, that's where Ghost character comes into, and of course Black Widow, that's where Yelena and the Red Guardian come from. Both Eric and Joanna allow each character time to show who they are and their skill sets. One of the things really liked about this particular film, even if you haven't seen any of the films or the TV shows that they were in, the script and the acting allows each one of them to shine throughout the whole film, and we get to know them even if you haven't seen any of those films. I mean, there is some nice banter going on between all the characters. Some of it which is funny, especially when David Harbour joins the group, and you can see and feel the group coming together despite their dark passes that they have with each other. You know, they have their typical disagreements, they have their arguments, but once they realize that they have to work together, then they start working together. And I think the script allows that dynamic to flow nicely in this particular film. Speaking of their dark past, the film does explore some of the characters' dark past, especially with Yelena, which explains some of her issues regarding Alexei and the events that took place at the Avengers Endgame. Now, if you haven't seen that film, which I'm pretty sure most of you have, I'm still not going to spoil what happens in that particular film, but it does have some effect to Yelena, as we see that in this film, and also the Hawkeye TV series, because she's in that as well. Now, the film does deal with mental issues in this particular film, especially regarding Bob and the plans that Dave Fontaine has for him, which leads to disaster results for him and the group as well. Now, I actually find it fascinating that the film does dwell with mental issues. It shows about depression, the depression, darkness, the ability about no one likes me. And I think the film does a great job expressing that without slamming it down our throats. Now, Florence Pugh is great in the film. As a matter of fact, she's the driving force of the film. Showing what a great actress she is, especially doing some great moments between her and Louis Pullman, who plays Bob. I mean, she gives Yelena the strength, courage, and vulnerability for a woman who is still struggling with loss, guilt, and the lack of direction of her life. I mean, there are times we can still see that she's still grieving the loss of what happened to her and after Avengers Endgame, and she has no direction of life. She feels guilt for all the bad stuff she has done in her life, and Florence Pugh does a great job in showing those type of emotions. That's what makes her such a great actor, because she has such great range. I mean, she is able to explain to Bob about her own darkness and her own mental instabilities. Well, I wouldn't say mental instability, but her own darkness, and how she is now fighting against it, and that she, along with others, can help Bob fight his own darkness, because Bob has his own darkness, and we see that playing the film. That's because we get to see all their dark past thanks to Bob, and they all realize that no matter what, you can't run from it. You have to fight it, learn from it, and then try to make a better life from yourself. I mean, there's a great scene that takes place right before the third act starts to have, where Bucky explains to them he knows where they're at because he's had his own dark past being the former Winter Soldier, and he tells them you have to learn how to accept it because it is part of your past. You can't run away from it, and then you have to try your best to learn from it and then move on and do the good things to make up for all the bad stuff you have done. I thought it was a great way of how he explained that. Now, Louis Pullman, he's good as Bob. You know, a man with a very dark, bad past, as we learn throughout the film. He is, and as we learn throughout the film, he is the last person that needs access to unlimited power that Dave Fontaine promises him. There is a reason why he is scared, and as we find out why during the third act of the film, is the reason why you don't give a person like Bob the powers that the Sentry has, because you see what happens when you do. Now, obviously, I like the costume that they give the Sentry. I like the fact that Bill Pullman is cast at the Sentry. You know, even though he has these incredible powers that the Sentry has, so they did a good job showing that from the comics, and we get to see that here during the fight scene he has with the Thunderbolts during the third act of the film, and then we get to see his other half of the film, and they don't do anything crazy with it. They just have him all covered in darkness so he doesn't look phony, which I was afraid that was going to happen. And I'm glad they didn't do that. I thought it was a great aspect of him, which is simply just a dark reflection of himself. Now, also during the third act, there are some nice moments between Florence and David. And obviously, David's enjoying himself, and he has some funny moments throughout the film. Now, not all the jokes work in the film. Some are good, some are funny, some of the audience laughed at most of the stuff, some of the fun stuff don't fall, doesn't hit. And there is one character that doesn't get the chance to do anything at all in the film, and I thought it was kind of a waste to put that character in there. I won't say who it is, but if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But overall, I really did enjoy this film. It's a very good film. Now, does this mean that the MCU is back? Well, I will have to see, but it's a nice starting point as we now wait for a Fantastic Four first steps leading into Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. I'm pretty sure most people will have their complaints about this particular film. There'll be some aspects of whether it's a story of the story that they didn't like, maybe some they actually didn't like. They might some this aspects of the film. They might not like the aspects of the film. And I'm sorry that you didn't like the film, but as far as I'm concerned, I did enjoy the film. I thought it was great acting from all the cast. The story was nice. The filming was great. I love the action scenes. This is not the Avengers Endgame. You're not going to top that. It's simply going to have to wait to see whether Doomsday and Secret Wars will be like Infinity Wars and Endgame. But for me, this is more on the lines of the Mighty Avengers or Marvel's The Avengers or even 20th Century Fox X-Men. It's sort of like the beginning of something. And so if this is how the MCU is going to start its reboot after this particular film, and then we get the Fantastic Four and then Doomsday and Secret Wars, for me, this is a nice starting point. So there you have it, gang. That is my video and review of Thunderbolts. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, like, and share. It really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime when I put up new videos such as this one. So once again, hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Y'all stay safe out there.